Hello everyone and welcome to another Geometry Dash video, and a while ago I made a video called Top 10 Atmospheric Levels in Geometry Dash, where I went over 10 levels that personally stood out to me as atmospheric, but one rule that I had with this list was no cartoony looking levels because they were incapable of conveying atmosphere, which I admit some cartoony levels can be atmospheric, but that's besides the point. Today, we'll be looking at the other side of artistic looking levels, the cartoony ones. In order for a level to be considered cartoony, to me at least, is that the level needs to be mostly made of solid colors. Secondly, the level needs to be in some way artistic, so no effects-based levels. So let's get started with number 10. Number 10, Lusture by Galvatron. I was originally not going to add this level to the list, but I think the crystal theme passes as artistic. Many Crystal Gauntlet entries all look pretty similar, but Galvatron went for a more modern and effect-based level, while still maintaining the crystal theme. Many of the effects really stood out for me. I have no idea how either of these effects were made, and all of the backgrounds were very detailed. The block designs also worked with the backgrounds they were in. My favorite section would have to be this black and tan section. I think it looks the most realistic out of every section, and I wish it lasted longer. My only criticism is how some of the sections dragged on a little bit, while having little variation in movement. Number 9, Game Time by Similar AMZ. Everyone in the comments kept telling me how great of a level this is, and while I admit this is a good level, I think it's kind of overrated. I just thought it got more attention than it needed, but that's just my opinion. This whole level is a huge mix of Flash games, most of which I don't know, but I did do my research, I watched videos of each Flash game, and I know what the basic idea of each game is, and I have to say, pretty much everything stays true to the original games. Of course, this level isn't as forgiving as the original Flash games, but hey, it's a Geometry Dash level. Additionally, this level does a good job at reminding you it's a Geometry Dash level, and doesn't have any crazy game modes. My favorite part, concept-wise, had to be Heartstar, which was originally a game with 2 players, but he was able to incorporate both characters into the game by alternating between them. Personally, I think some sections are unnecessarily hard to just bong. I think it should have been more chaotic than tedious, and Fearless requires timing your sword and timing your jumps. Design-wise, everything's pretty much the same as the original games, and most of the games have retro graphics, but design-wise, I think this level does an excellent job at putting these games inside of Geometry Dash, even though they aren't as forgiving. Number 8, Strike 3 by JF. I don't know why I love this level so much. I'm not even that much of a baseball fan. The first half of the level is mostly an object copied and pasted in the background, and the second half is a bunch of other stuff. It's almost like the first half is stuff related to playing baseball, while the second half has to do with watching it. The song surprisingly works really well, which is something I wouldn't have expected. While the main focus of the first half is the objects in the background, such as baseball bats and gloves, there's still extra detail in the background. Additionally, the block design works really well with the background. The second half starts off with a cutscene of a guy hitting the ball, which transitions right into a baseball field, which personally is my favorite part of the level. Next was a duel with a bunch of MLB teams in the background, and while this section is rather simple, I think it works in this case. And finally, the hot dog section near the end was the most detailed, most of it coming from the background. The second half of the level definitely reminds me of when I used to watch baseball. Overall, this level definitely succeeded in its baseball theme, while still not making it feel empty. Number 7, Catalina by JF. This is also a level I know I shouldn't be liking as much as I do right now. I even went through the trouble of beating this on 60Hz. I'll say I didn't really like the gameplay too much, there were some very annoying timings, but I really liked the art in this level, and the song by Meganeko made the playing experience enjoyable. The beginning with the fence and power lines were minimal but had atmosphere, and I think the song played a role in that as well. The traffic light along with the circles in the background clearly had detail, and I think worked with the song as well. The burger, pizza, and fries in the background was sort of an odd choice for a grassy block design, but it worked for some odd reason. There was also a balloon duel section and an egg cube section, but my favorite part would have to be at the end with the grassy hill landscape. This is actually pretty atmospheric while still keeping its cartoony style. The only criticism would have to be the simplicity of the blocks. This is obviously not with all of the blocks, but the traffic light blocks were copied and pasted from the beginning, and there were 2 parts which the blocks were made up of only 1 color. Overall, while the block design wasn't the greatest, the art in the background along with the song really worked in my opinion. Number 6, Neon 18 by Zendergame. Neon 18 is Zendergame's most recent rated level. This level is almost 3 minutes long and maintains a mechanical theme throughout the level. I find it impressive how Zendergame is able to execute his mechanical theme while at the same time using mostly solid blocks. Almost every background is extremely detailed and has lots of movement. About 1/3 into the level is a boss, which I wish had a bit more text and was more dynamic, but I'm probably nitpicking because Zendergame normally adds more text in its boss fights. I thought the second half of the level was especially way more artistic than the first half, which I definitely liked more. The next 3 backgrounds were city backgrounds, one being all gray, the next one being more zoomed in, and the last one being more vaporwave looking, which I think is a good change in the level. My only criticism for this level is this section about 2/3 into the level, and has about 15 seconds of a nearly empty background, but again, it's probably just nitpicking. Number 5, Just Robs and Tops by Dansman. First of all, I'm sorry Dansman for not giving this level number 1. I promised Dan on stream I'd make this level number 1, but I didn't. But seriously, Dansman is one of the last creators I would have expected to be on this list, because he's used to making easy demon design levels, so this came out of nowhere. There are a lot of Just Shapes and Beats levels, which is an excellent game by the way, but this one is easily the best. While many of the other Just Shapes and Beats levels focus mostly on actual gameplay and trying to replicate the game, half of Just Robs and Tops was focused mostly on the world map. The beginning was based off of the first world, the island, and the second was based off of the volcano. The build-up was a little more minimal. I don't even know what the triangles in Just Shapes and Beats are called, but there are 3 of them. But I will say it did well at bringing tension. The second part was very impressive in my opinion, and what makes it stand out. This level definitely goes above and beyond with its effects. You have the boss right here, the main antagonist of the game, but you also have a background and a foreground of white lines. Next were the cannons, and again, there are circles and squares on left and right, a trail for each shot being fired, and effects showing the cannon was fired. It's definitely these smaller details that give the level power. And then there's a gear and the Close to Me boss, and the level's done. While there are a lot of Just Shapes and Beats levels, Dansman went above the standards and gave the level detail and power. Number 4, B by Motley Orc and Scorch VX. This level is generally well liked around the community, and for a good reason. The decoration is mainly hive themed. There's a lot going in each section, but at the same time, everything looks so clean. The spider part at the beginning has decoration that's almost entirely made of hexagons, but we have a foreground with bees on it, the block design is covered with honey, and the 2 background layers. The encounter with a large bee is pretty similar, and I thought the idea of small bees trying to kill you along with the large bee trying to sting you was very creative. And of course, none of the bees are realistic, but that's the style and it's not supposed to be realistic. Throughout the rest of the level, you end up seeing a bunch of other bees in the backgrounds, especially the ball section, and there are a lot of bees here in the wave, but they're further into the background. I really liked how even though each section is trying to be the same thing, there's no repetition in the design at all. The level ends with a very enlarged bee saying that he was bee-feeted. Overall, while I think there's a lot going in each section, the modern style worked perfectly and definitely decluttered the level. Number 3, KoFi 2 by Kips. So I thought it would be unfair to put both KoFi and KoFi 2 on this list because they're very similar, so I'll only have KoFi 2. Both KoFi and KoFi 2 are beach and ocean themed levels, and I absolutely love how the theme and the song fit together in these levels, but KoFi 2 did much better in my opinion. Everything had an outline to make everything look more distinct and decluttered. There were also more moving objects in KoFi 2 to make everything look more dynamic. The landscapes in both levels are very similar. It starts with an island in the distance, then an underwater section, and lastly a sunset section, the sunset looking especially excellent. There were also crabs, ducks, and fish, which act as very subtle decoration, but I didn't notice them at all in the first one because they didn't have outlines. The second one, however, did a really good job with this. Overall, I love what Kips did in this level. It's a very relaxing level to play. Number 2, Aquafina by Kips. Well, I think I just gave away what number 1 is. Oh well, most of you probably skipped to number 1 anyways. This level does so well at maintaining its theme, staying dynamic and staying true to Kips' style. It's also extremely vibrant. It's made up of almost entirely bright colors. The effects are pretty similar to this, and it's pretty cool by Nazgub, but it also adds new things to the table. Mainly the cartoony looking block design, but it also executed the Vaporwave style better than its prequel. I'm not going to talk about every section because there are so many sections, so I'll just talk about the sections that stood out to me. The ship with 3D Japanese lettering with a triangle background all worked really well with the muffle in the song. My 2 favorite parts had to be the 2 city sections. The first one was set during the nighttime and was all glowy, and the second one looked like a sunrise. Both backgrounds had motions while the song was glitching, and I don't know why I like that so much. Overall, I think this level does an excellent job with the Vaporwave theme and stays cartoony at the same time. So before I talk about number 1, I'm going to talk about a few levels that I was going to put on here, but didn't for a certain reason. Bossfight Devourers by Zendergame isn't rated yet, but it would have placed very high on the list. Butiti 2 by Jonathan GD was a level many people told me to add onto this list, but doesn't match my definition of cartoony, and Crazy and Crazy 2 by Dab JT aren't on the list because I don't think there are enough cartoony parts. Number 1, BG by Nazgub. Okay, imagine this. You're in Hawaii and you just finished a hike across a giant crater and you're exhausted. You go to the car, open up Geometry Dash, and start playing this level with music on. That's exactly what happened to me. This is the greatest looking cartoony level, and sure, Aquafina is more decorated, but I find originality to play a huge part in whether a level is good or not. I'm pretty sure this is the first time anyone has ever tried Vaporwave style in Geometry Dash, and while every section contributes to a certain theme, each section looks very different, keeping the level interesting. The gameplay is interesting in XL length, but not unfair. The design is complex, but not cluttered. It's chill, but not repetitive. It has a blend of both effects and art. This level did everything flawlessly. The first part had a background with mountains on the top. I think this grid on the bottom of the screen is the first time this effect has ever been used. The next part had this checkerboard design and Japanese symbols, along with cubes as block design. Half of the city section is pretty similar to Aquafina, but this one is more bright, has more layers to it. I believe I've seen this effect before, but this next section is completely new to me. Nazgul used the rotate trigger to move the blocks with a triangle background. And finally, it ends with the same grid with a city above it. Overall, this is the type of level that I end up playing over and over because of how interesting of a level it is. The more I play it, the more I enjoy it, and that's why it takes the #1 spot on this list. And if you don't think it deserves #1, play the level again. Right now. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed. I've been carried away with making videos recently because I've been streaming a lot, and actually have been playing the game. I beat Fairy Dust, Sharp Miner, and Poltergeist since the first video. All my gameplay links are on the Herobrine channel, link to that in the description. Oh, and one more thing, I accidentally installed a virus on my computer that prevented it from restarting, so I had to take the computer apart, remove the SSD the virus was located on, put Windows 10 on a flash drive on my old laptop, take the flash drive into the gaming computer, and install it on my hard drive. But first, I had to erase all the data on it and then convert it through a command terminal. So, I've spent about 5 hours total fixing it, and those 5 hours were a nightmare, so I'm so glad it's done. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're interested in my content, and as always guys, this is Flaaroni signing out.